Today's lesson is on the moon and moon facts. We're not going to get much into it in this lesson. We're going to save moon phases and eclipses for later units. So we're just doing the basic facts. The moon is the Earth's only natural satellite. We have lots of artificial satellites, but the moon's our only natural one. It is slightly younger than the Earth at about 4.5 billion years old. The moon's origin is a result of a collision between the Earth and a Mars-sized object. We will be watching a video on this, and it's going to go through what we think happened to cause the moon, so you're going to remember that video, and we're going to write a really good explanation of the theory when we watch that video. After the moon had cooled and formed a dense core and hard crust, it was bombarded with meteorites. Some of the impacts broke through the crust to create Maria. So the hard crust, or the crust was hardened, but underneath it there was still molten moon. And it spilled out to create the Maria, and I'll show you that in a picture coming up. The moon does not have an atmosphere because its gravity isn't strong enough. We think of the Earth has a pretty strong gravity. It can hold oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide. It can't hold some gases like hydrogen and helium because they are just not heavy enough or massive enough. They escape off into space. Well, the moon's gravity is about 1/6 of the Earth's, so it can't even hold any of those gases. So it doesn't have an atmosphere. Because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, there isn't any weather on the moon. There's no wind, there's no rain, nothing like that. So if you put a flag on the moon or astronaut footprints on the moon, they're going to stay there forever, unless if somebody comes up and knocks them away like an alien, or a meteorite hits them and covers them with more dust. Otherwise, they're going to stay there. There is no atmosphere on the moon. This is an interesting or unique thing about the moon. The moon rotates on its axis and revolves around the Earth every 27 1/3 days. Okay? And it's interesting. The number's the same. So the rotation is 27 1/3 days. The revolution is 27 1/3 days. Its day is the same as its year, essentially. Imagine if that was the same for the Earth. If our day was 365 days long instead of 24 hours. Or if our year was only 24 hours, but they were the same number, the day and year the same. Because they're exactly the same number, something unique happens. We always see the same side of the moon. Hopefully you've noticed this. You go outside tonight and you look at the moon, kind of study it, memorize what it looks like, go out tomorrow night, go out the next night, go out the next night. Wait a half a year, wait a year, wait 5 years. It will always be the same side that you see. You will never see the other side. And it's because of this, the rotation and revolution are the same. I'm going to do a demo in class to show you how this works. This picture shows it, but sometimes a demo is a little bit better. This is the flag. So Apollo 11 landed on the moon. We planted our flag. It's right here. It's the side facing the Earth. As the moon orbits the Earth, it slowly turns counterclockwise. So the moon is slowly turning counterclockwise as it goes around the Earth counterclockwise. So by the time it gets to here, it's pointing the same one towards the Earth. It gets here, it's again rotating very slowly counterclockwise, so it creates another quarter turn by the time it gets here. So it's always ending up facing the same side of the Earth. So we have a near side of the moon and a far side of the moon. Some people say a light side of the moon and a dark side of the moon. They're just getting confused by the Pink Floyd song. There is a light side and dark side of the moon, but the light side of the moon is just wherever the sun is shining. It doesn't deal with this near side, far side idea. Okay, so there's a near side of the moon, and a far side of the moon. What does the near side of the moon look like? Well, here it is. It's covered mostly in highlands and Maria. So remember, Maria, these are these big things here. In Italian, Maria means sea. Galileo, when he looked up through his telescope, He thought there were big oceans on the moon, big things of water on the moon. Obviously there aren't. He was wrong. But he still called them Maria, and we still call them Maria today. Again, what formed these? Strong meteorite impacts. So meteorite came in while the crust of the moon was solid. Meteorites came in, they smashed through it, and lava erupted out and filled in the shape of the crater. So it used to be a big lava lake, or a big lava sea, so maybe the Maria does work. And then it has since hardened. So this was another big sea of lava that is now hardened. Apollo 11, the first people that walked on the moon, they landed right here, Apollo 11. Mare Tranquillitatis, the Sea of Tranquility. Apollo 17 was up here. They're the ones that golfed on the moon, hit the golf ball. They were also the ones that, no, they didn't drop. The Apollo 15 is one that dropped the hammer and the feather. This is the Mare Serenitatis, the Sea of Serenity. So all of these were big mares, big seas. That's the side that we see. The other side, though, what does it look like? Is it the same? Is it different? How do we know what it looks like? We know what it looks like because we have pictures of it. We have spent spaceships around to the other side and taken pictures. And astronauts, of course, have orbited it and looked at it. You'll never see the other side unless if you look at pictures or you go in orbit to look at it. It will never turn it to face us. So what does the far side look like? It's pretty different. Lots of little craters. None of that Maria. Another difference, maybe you saw it in that picture, but you look at this one, we see everything is labeled pretty much in Italian and Latin. What were all the landforms labeled in on the far side of the moon? Russian. Russians were the first ones to see what the far side of the moon looked like. They sent a probe around. Here's a stamp, a Russian stamp commemorating it. Okay, it was July 10th, or now it's probably October 7th, 1959. They were the first ones to take a picture of the far side of the moon. They came back, developed a film, labeled everything in Russian, and then sent it out to the rest of the world saying, here is what it looks like and these are the names. So very different looking and also very differently labeled. And that's it for our short little lesson on the facts of the moon. Moon phases will be the next lesson.